So I'm can't decide whether I want to actually talk about what WebDriver IO is, and I guess I'll cover briefly what this is. It's just a simple form that you fill out, and in it you enter site information, and then hit test my login, and it generates a folder that you're going to download, a zip file that you're going to download, and from there you can run it on your local computer. So yeah, there's some description here, but what the login page I'm going to test is test your login /example. So this is a basic login page. It's all fake behind the scenes. So if I click login, I've got some error messages that pop up. You can also go to a register page that's actually blank right now. If I enter a bad email or a bad password, it'll say that as well. So that's the page we're going to test. Very simple. So I'm going to go in and paste my login URL, which is just this page right here, right there. And then next thing I need to do is the selector of my username input field. And this can be just a normal CSS selector. And so if you want more information on different selectors you can use in WebDriver IO, there's a page on it that goes into the basic CSS query selector. So this is just an H2 with the class of subheading, or a link inside an H2 with the class of subheading, basic CSS selector. There's also ways to select by link text. So if we wanted to, well, if there was text in here, there isn't because it's an input field. You could select it by that. And there's a whole bunch of information in there about different ways you can find elements inside of a page. So for us, we are going to go with a semi-basic, in this example, I'm going to do an input, and I'm going to use the attribute selector to say name equals email. And then I'm going to do the same thing. So this is saying an input that has a name attribute that's set to email. So here I have an input that has a name attribute, and it's set to email. I'm going to do the same thing for my password. Input with a name of password. So, paste that in and type in password. And then the last thing, or the last selector I need to add, is the selector of my login button, which here it's this button. And for this one, I'll try doing the combo button star equals login. This is going to say a button element that has the text of login, and then that star says that it's kind of a fuzzy match, so it's not a direct match. It's just as long as it has login in there, it would work. So this button at the bottom, test my login, I believe that would match it. I'm not sure with that exclamation mark if it would actually do that, and I put that in the wrong field. Right field. So that's the selector of my login button here, and then I need to do a valid username, which is valid@user.com. And that's actually the only username that works. If you do that, it says that your username or password is incorrect. And then a valid password, 2, which really in this example, it can be anything. So I'm going to just type a bunch of junk and it's going to log me in because it's a fake example. It doesn't actually care about that kind of stuff. So, and then you can also get to that page just by going to loggedin.html if you wanted to, and log out. All log out does is take you back to the homepage. So that's the basics of that. And then we want a non-registered username. So I'll change this to invalid because we don't have that user. And the last thing I'll do is I'm going to hit test my login and hope this works because I haven't tried it out in a while. And it looks like it did. It downloaded that. And then if I come in here, pop that open. Oh, you can see I've been downloading ROMs. Legal, of course. Okay, I'll just do that. And then, what time is it? Oh, cool. Okay, so this is the folder that it created that has all of my tests in it. And if I open up the README file, I'll open up with Sublime Text, the new one. that out and come in here. And it's just a basic README filled out with all the information you need on it. So there's the installation that we need to run, and then how we use it, and then all the different features of it. And so lots of information in there about the what you just downloaded. So if I go back to this folder, the next thing I need to do is install all my dependencies. So I'm going to, there we go. Oops. Profile presenting. There we go. Nice pretty shell. Go to my downloads folder, into the test your login folder that it created. Clear that off the screen, and then I'm just going to run that npm install, and I'll make this text a little bit bigger and run npm install. It goes without saying that you should have Node installed, Node.js installed on your local computer. If you're not familiar with that, then this is probably going to be a lot more work for you, but you can just install Node.js via searching Node.js, and then they have their homepage where you can download the latest. And once you get that downloaded and installed, then you can run npm install. npm is the Node package manager that allows you to install packages. So here it's installed all of my WebDriver IO stuff. So if I go back to this Finder folder, I've got my Node modules with all the stuff I want, like Chai WebDriver IO and let's see, ESLint, and then the more important one, which is WebDriver IO, which is what we're going to use in just a second. Okay, so let's try it out. All I have to do next, according to the README, is run the test using npm test. Oops, I keep opening the wrong terminal. Okay, so I'm going to run npm test. Let's see what happens. Okay, I'm gonna put that up here. So it's actually opening a new Chrome browser window and running all these tests in the background, or yeah, running all these tests from an automated perspective. So it's controlling Chrome and adding all these different things. And then when you see it pausing like that, it's actually taking screenshots of the page and for you to use later. And then here we have all of our passing tests. And then if we go back to this folder, and we look at screenshots, now we have screenshots of our page in various states at various widths and everything. So you can see login page should error on a missing email email. And then it's a document screenshot. That means it took a screenshot of the entire page in Chrome on version 61 at this width and height. Yeah, so those screenshots, we're going to figure out what those are for in just a second. But let's take a look at the actual test itself that we just ran. So all of this code was, it's kind of boilerplate code that, let's see if I can, that comes from a starter kit I made here, WebDriver IO starter kit. And it's going to look pretty similar. Here's that login page, login spec. So we have this login page file that we're requiring. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then some other stuff. So basically in the test your login page, it just replaces this type of stuff with what you added in it. So if I go back here, it's got valid@user.com, which is the same as the boilerplate, but this actual password is different. So the one other thing I want to show is this configuration file that gets generated, and here's that URL that we passed in. So whatever URL you would have passed in there is available. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff that you don't need to worry about right now. So let's get back to that test. So we'll touch on this login page object in just a second and what page objects are. But if you've done any unit testing in Mocha, this will look very familiar. If you haven't, Mocha is a test framework that allows you to kind of create a structure to your tests. So it provides this describe, and then you pass in a string that's going to be the name of your set of tests. And then you wrap all of your tests in a function. And then you can say, before each of my tests, I want to run this WebDriver IO command. So here, this is going to be browser.url. If you can guess that, what that does, it loads the page, and it takes the base URL and kind of says, go to that base URL following this kind of file path. / means just the base URL. That's it. And then, so every time we get into one of these it statements, the first thing it's going to do is open a browser and load that URL for us. So it's just going to go there. Okay, so this it statement is a specific test. So we're saying it should look nice. So we're just going to take a screenshot of the entire page. So here we do browser.checkDocument. CheckDocument is part of a outside service called Visual Regression Service. I don't want to get too much into it, but it basically takes a screenshot of the page, and the first time through, it'll create those screenshots. It'll create that folder of screenshots. So if you don't have a baseline folder or the baseline file isn't there, it'll create it. The second time through, it'll take another screenshot, and then it'll compare it to the baseline screenshot. And then it's going to return information about that comparison into the results of, or back to you. So we're going to say results is equal to this information back. And then results is going to be an array of information. And we say for each of them, we're going to grab the result. So this check document is actually going to take multiple screenshots defined at different widths. So here we have 2 widths and heights, 2 different viewports. We have one at 320 by 500, kind of your mobile view, and then another at 960 by 700, kind of a tablet or desktop view. And so you've got 2 different result sets back. So we're going to go to each of them, and we're going to say that result, it has a, it comes back as an object with properties on it. There's one property in there called is within mismatch tolerance. And that's just saying that the difference between the 2 screenshots, the baseline and the one that you just took, you're just checking that it's not greater than this certain percentage, which you can actually define in here, but the default is like 0.01%. So pretty much no difference between the 2 is what you're looking for. And so if that value is true, and then it is within the mismatch tolerance, so it's fine. It's not out of bounds as far as differences go. So there might be a very slight difference, but it's nothing that's actually noticeable. So we're saying that's equal to true. This is using Chai's expect assertion, which Chai is an assertion library. Assertion libraries are ways of saying I want to test that one number or one value is equal to another value. So here we have our actual value. This is the actual result. And then we're going to assert that it's equal to true. So basically that this is the same thing as true. And we could do the same thing. We could just say it should be false, but then that would be bad because you don't want it to be false. And then this is a little message that we'll send out after that. So that is the first test where it just takes a screenshot of the page and goes down. So if I were to change something on that, I don't think I can. Yeah, I'll change something on my valid email. So if I change valid email to actually be invalid, and then I hit save, actually what I'll do is I'll just add a few to my password here.
So really quick, it's within mismatch tolerance. So if you have a mobile version and a tablet version of this login that has a slight change, just like you would change the layout of the login component, it would fail this test, right?
Right.
Okay, so this is more for making sure that it looks the same no matter what size you have technically?
Yeah, and that's just for a responsive design. So the page is going to look different at this viewport versus that viewport. It's not comparing those two viewports. It's just saying, take a screenshot at this viewport. And if we go back here, we can see that's at this one. And then take another screenshot at a larger viewport. So they're slightly different when I switch between the two. But normally sites are a lot more different. But it's only going to compare against that viewport.
Okay, cool.
So let's see what that actually looks like. So I'm going to save that. And when I run this test again, when it tries logging in with the valid credentials, it's actually going to fail because that password has more dots on it. And so it's going to look different. So we'll go through. So see how that was longer of a password. I hope. Yeah. So here it's going to fail this one as well, and probably that one as well, because it's got all these different dots on it. This one's going to pass because the image is the same. Yeah. So we had 2 passes, and then 3 fails. Oh, I wonder. Okay. So if we go back in here, so our baseline stays all the same. Our latest has updated. So here's the latest. If you look at it, you might not know what's going on. So this is one of those that failed. And so that's why we have a diff folder that has just the difference between the various states. So anything that's in this super bright pink shows that there's a difference between the two. So here, either these dots were added or they were removed. Kind of would have to look at the two to know for sure. And the same thing throughout all of them. So, on here, this was a kind of a funny thing. For some reason, the rendering was just a little bit different when it took those screenshots. I'm guessing that when I first ran the test, it popped up the window on my other screen, and it took the screenshot on there. And then when I just now ran the test, it popped up the window directly on here. And so just having that different monitor caused the text to render a little bit differently because of the one was on a Retina display and the other wasn't. And so because of that, or maybe the color was different, I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably the display difference.
Yeah. So that's why that one failed. I was kind of surprised to see that. So
is it possible to set a different color for like the baseline and the other one?
Yes. You're saying, like
instead of just one hot pink, it would be, I don't know, 2 different colors, like a red and a blue. Say if it's red, it's the baseline that has it, and then
I'm not sure.
It's the other one. Oh.
There are some settings that you can set on it. There's that mismatch tolerance that you can change.
Oh, okay.
Compare methods. No, I don't think so. Not in this one. In some of the other visual regression testing frameworks, you can, but it doesn't look like you can in this one. But you can also upload this to a tool like Spectre. And then it's got a really neat little comparison ability here where you can kind of see a little bit better the difference between the two. They're all side by side. So this is like a UI for visual regression testing. Yeah, that's that. Yeah, okay. So that's what that should look nice does. So I'll undo that change. We have a couple of other things here. We are going to, I should get into the page objects now. So I've got this login.login valid email, and valid password. So I'm calling a function that is part of this login page object. So if I jump to, let's see if I can get this. No. Here, maybe? No. Okay. I'll move these side by side. So just as you can have classes of JavaScript objects kind of things, like in React and things like that, you can do that same class idea for defining what a component or page is. So here we have this login page. In that login page, we have 3 elements. We have the email, the password, and the submit. And I'm going to define a getter for that element or for that value, so that when I try and get email, it's going to return this, which is basically $. It says get a reference, get a Selenium WebDriver reference to this element. In the same way that you would do that with jQuery, you do $ input, that sort of thing. WebDriver IO is following that same idea of I want to get a reference to this element, so that's what I'm going to do, and then I can call commands on it. So here I'm going to say when I log in, I want to set the value on the email to the value that was passed in here, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the password, and then I'm going to click the submit button. So set value is a WebDriver IO command, and so is click. They're little commands that you run in the browser. Set value is I'm going to set the value of the input field to whatever email is. And so when I say login.login, basically I'm creating this class. It's got some elements / properties on it, and then some functions on it. Then I'll just export that class out. I'll load it in my test file. Then I'll instantiate it. I'll create a new login. And so here, if you had like something in your constructor where you wanted to maybe pass in a form, you could do that. And so you'd have like a constructor form selector. And then you could do something like that where this .form is equal to $ selector, whoops. Then you could use that to say, when I want to search, I'm going to do this .form . And so I'm only going to find the element that matches that inside. I'm only going to look within that form. So that can help kind of reduce the scope of your selectors. We don't do that. We keep things simple because I didn't want to make it complicated. So yeah, this is going to create a new login class that's going to have these properties. So here I use that. I call the function login on this login class, and I pass in my valid email, which is just a string, and then my valid password is just a string. And when it was created, it got these references set up, and so it jumps into this function, sets the value, and clicks it. And then I'm going to check another function on there called isLoggedIn. That's just going to return true or false, whether this is true or false. So browser.getURL does not equal the homepage URL. So basically, it took you somewhere else than the homepage. Now that could be like an error page, and that wouldn't be great because it would say that you're logged in when you're not really. But it's impossible to really kind of tell what people are really going to want to do with this isLoggedIn. So I kind of just say, go in and update that test yourself to kind of validate it.
Well, potentially you can add another field that says, if you're logged in, it goes to this page.
Yeah, I could do that. I could also maybe see that the input that these elements aren't on the page. That actually wouldn't be a terrible thing. Either that they're not visible or they don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the one thing is I wanted to keep it really, really simple.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so that does that again. It expects it to be true. And then we're going to take our screenshots again. At that point, we could actually come in here and do another set of screenshots. you would, yeah, that wouldn't do anything because it submits it right away. So there's no time when it's running that login that you can add a set of screenshots in there. So anyway, after it's logged you in, it'll take a screenshot, and that's where, let's see, these come in. You're logged in. That's another thing that we may not even need this assertion in here because we're taking a screenshot of the page after you log in, and so it should kind of remain the same. And if it fails to log you in, then something bad is going on. Sorry, that screenshot's going to be different if it fails to log you in. So, if I turn that off and then I pass in a bad email, and then I'm going to use this .only to only run this test. Neat little Mocha trick. And I'll run it again, and it's going to fail because the screenshot's going to be completely different, and we'll see what that looks like. So there, this should have actually logged me in, and it didn't. And so it's going to come back as it failed. So if I go to my latest, or actually let's go to the diff. Here's that one. So yeah, it's kind of angry at you right there because it's just completely different from before. So yeah, and that's with this commented out. So yeah, I could get rid of that, but I'll leave it in there. And then we kind of do the same thing. We log in with an empty email address and a valid password. Check that we're not on the logged in page. Take screenshots. Invalid user, so that was that invalid user that I passed in. Again, check that we're not on the login page. Take some screenshots. And then with a good email but a bad password, check that we're not on the login page and take some screenshots. And so that is how all of that works in there. Now, that's this page. I want to try this with a different page, and I want you to tell me what page to test.
Yeah, I actually have a page that you can try out.
Okay.
So this is from my talk.
Oh yeah, you did that login page, didn't you?
Yeah. And let me try to figure out where I'm supposed to put it. No. Oops, remove any web addresses. Oh, seriously?
What?
It doesn't let me submit it web address.
Oh, well, send it in Gitter.
Bob.
Oh, nice. Okay. That's going to be hopefully an easy one. Okay. So come in here, paste that in. Username. Let's see. What do we want? That. Kind of that same idea. And then, yeah, the same thing for the password. And then your login button type submit. I could just do button. It's probably the only button on the page, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I'll just do button just for the fun of it. And then valid username is Bob, and valid password is very good password. And then gobbledygook. Okay. Now I'll jump back to my terminal. Test your login 1 npm install everything.
You could have copied the folder from the other one.
Yeah, you know, I've had issues when I move my node modules, or when
really?
I copy and paste folders, where it doesn't, like, the paths get messed up when trying to run it. Yeah, it's weird.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, it was only 25 seconds. I'm so impatient.
Efficiency.
Yeah. Should like turn on some sort of caching. That would be really smart. Certainly they have caching on.
Yeah, NPM 8 has something like that.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That'll be super handy. There we go. Oh, funny. You got a required on there. Nice. Okay. So I'm going to, let's see. No.
Wait, did it fail on logging in with valid credentials?
Expected false to be true. Should let you log in with valid credentials. You know, I wonder if, since you actually do, so let's see, Bob password. Yeah. So here we would need to change this to, let's go, because it is the same page. We're going to go into our login page object. Go in there. And then we're going to say return browser dot is existing. So this is just going to say that there's some text on the page that is there. Let's see if there's a different way. There's a couple different ways of checking whether an element exists or not. Is enabled, is existing, is visible. Yeah, we'll just go with is existing. So yeah, this is just going to check that this element is existing, and it's going to return true or false. And then in our spec, we'll do here is logged in on logged in page to be true. So I'm going to run .only, and then let's run that test again. So yeah, maybe I will change that to just check that the elements aren't on the page, are no longer visible. Probably. Oh, expected false to be true. Oh, yeah, that's right. We need to expect that. It's kind of funny that it's not existing. Oh wait, no, we want authenticated Bob to be existing. So maybe I did that wrong. Body authenticated Bob. Wonder if that's not the best kind of thing. So then I'll just say is existing. I'll say
maybe
this
do you need the star and the equal?
I don't know. I'm gonna take a different route.
Okay.
Browser is existing true. This email is existing. So it's basically going to test that the email address isn't on, or the email input isn't there. And let's just say, and this true basically flips it. So we could actually do the opposite where we do like that. That's probably easier to understand. Because with is existing, it's kind of funny. You pass in a second. Oh no. Oh. Never mind. I made that up. There's one in here. Is visible. Did they change that? There's one where you can pass in a Boolean to say. Kind of flip. Maybe it's. Oh, okay. This is it, where you reverse it when you're waiting for something. And that makes sense because you could just do that. Okay, let's try this test out. Going to the wrong terminal window. There we go. And then I'll run all those other tests just to make sure that works. And then while all that is running, I'm going to do one more thing. Where is it? There. Okay. Yeah, it had some errors. Not logged in, expected true to be false. I wonder if that was just... Should error on invalid email. What happens when you enter an... Oh, you know what? When you have an invalid email and you log in, it says authentication failed. So...
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You're checking for the email.
Yeah. So we would want to do that that one.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what we would do. This is the next thing that I'm working on. And what I'm going to do with this is share all of this with you. Paste all that in. And then instead of that, I'm going to...
So this is a good starting point to have like a boilerplate to test your logging.
Yes, that's exactly the idea of it.
Potentially, you may have to modify it to your needs.
Yeah, you're definitely going to need to modify it, and you're most likely going to need to modify it to kind of fit whatever you're trying to do. But I try to keep it as basic as possible so that you don't have to modify it too much.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing I'm going to do is come over here, or what was that? Here. And I'm going to run this test. Oh, why did it close that? This is another tool I'm trying to build. The ability to run all of this in the browser. So this is probably going to fail at some point. Yeah, 5 failing. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, that's definitely going to fail because I don't have the service built in.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically we would want to get rid of all of these. I don't have that visual regression service built in.
Oh, okay. That's not something you need to subscribe, right? It's just a module.
This dot. Yeah, it's just a service. Yeah, that you just install.
Okay.
Yeah, and I wonder if I want to get it installed. Although that would mean that people can take screenshots and really wouldn't be all that useful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it wouldn't be all that useful in the current state. Let's try running this. Close the connection again. That's interesting. Okay, I'm gonna share this URL. And then load that. And now when I run the test, let's see what this does. So browser.isExisting, authenticated Bob. Huh. I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
I want to get it working so I can just share it with you and browser.isExisting. So let's do something real quick. Browser.debug. Into the debug. of debug command, which is a super awesome command. And okay. So I'll set debug equals true and then npm test. What this is going to do is when it gets to that browser.debug, it's going to stop all the execution and drop us into a REPL, which is read eval print loop. That's what it stands for. Basically, it's just a way of kind of interacting with the site. So here we have us logged in, and now I can go into my page object and run this command. Okay, so that's not existing. Body about that. So I think, oh, you know what it was? When I don't have an element selector, it defaults to looking for a link. So if I hit C, then it's going to finish this all out. I won't do that all. So I needed to do body. So it's, I want to say, look, don't look for a link element, look for a body element that has that.
Oh, okay.
So if I go back to this page, I can just say body, close my WebSocket connection again. And I'm just going to have to share it again. It's not the most amazing thing. Like I can't save a URL over an old one. It just creates a new one, which is fine. Awesome. There we go. And then I'm going to paste this into the YouTube chat. And then if you can click that and try running it for me.
Okay. And run test.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. 4 passing.
Nice. So you just tested that page.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, this is a service that I want to build out so that you don't have to run this on your local computer. So people who really just want to try out, they don't like if they don't have Node installed or anything, but they do want to try out WebDriver IO, they'd be able to do that. Yeah. So this runs on a server behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And does all sorts of stuff. Yeah. So that is that. I think we might have another viewer. Somebody viewing. If you want to say hi, that would be awesome. Daniel, do you have any other questions?
None I can think of right now.
Okay.
Although I do. Oh, hey. Joseph Debling.
Hey. Yeah. Hi. Do you have any questions, Joseph? Feel free to type them in.
So WebSocket connection, that's one thing you need to fix.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, I thought I had some code in there that would... I'll just show you the code. Would, when you click run test, let's see. So here's my WebSocket connection. If there's no WebSocket connection, then connect. You know, yeah, WebSocket is equal to null. So it shows the message. It says it's equal to null. Oh, it disables it. So basically, like running test doesn't actually, I can't because the element is disabled.
Right. But to run the test, you need the WebSocket to be on.
Right. So if I take that out.
Wait. Doesn't that fail? Or does the run create a WebSocket connection?
Yeah, when I hit run, it's going to say, is there a WebSocket connection or is there not one? Then go ahead and connect back up. Yeah. So let's make that update. Okay. Do not disable.
So Joseph asks, do you keep the test result in Git control?
Yes, I do. Give me just a second. Yeah. So one thing I didn't show in here is a git ignore file. I go back over to here and then pop that up. Let's see, what's the command for showing hidden files? It's git ignore. It's got the basic node ignore stuff, but it also ignores error shots. Error shots are screenshots that occur if some WebDriver IO command fails. So if your test just doesn't complete at all, not that your test fails, but that there's an error in running the test. So there will be an error shots directory that will get created in here. Similar to your screenshots, it'll be error shots. And then there's also screenshots.latest and screenshots.diff. We ignore those. So the only ones we check in are the baseline. And so all of these images will go into our Git repo. That's just one way of managing your images. And the actual results, so these results and everything, they don't get checked in, but there is in WebDriver IO more advanced reporting. So there's a bunch of different reporters. So there's one for Allure, which is a really cool little thing. It'll give you results in an actual dashboard. Same thing with TeamCity. And then you could use JUnit if you have Jenkins. So this actually prints out files, and then they have a thing on Jenkins integration in there, so you can actually get your test results on a server kind of thing. And so yeah, you could keep these test results in your Git repo. I probably wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend storing that in something like Jenkins or some other reporter, because those aren't really source code that you want to, you want to be able to keep track of those results over time so that you can see if there's a particular test that fails more often than others or takes longer to run. And the Allure reporter has some really good bits on that. So you can see here's the number of tests, and this is how long they take to run, I think. Maybe under graphs, severity, duration. Yeah. So most of the tests are 0 to 2 seconds long, but there's this one test that's 22 seconds. So we'd want to look at that one and figure out why it's taking so long. So yeah, hopefully that kind of answered the question as far as test results.
So about the baseline, so you're checking the baseline into Git.
Mm-hmm.
How would you generate a new baseline?
You just delete it. And you say, I want a new baseline. So I come in here and I delete that file, and then I run the test again, and it's going to create a new one. And then when you go to check it in, it's going to, you'll do that git diff kind of thing. And it has to be a Git repo, but it'll say that there's a new difference. And so you do your git add of the image. And then what's really cool is when you get to something like GitHub and you want to do a pull request, you can look inside that pull request and see that there's a difference between the two images. The one that was previously checked in and the newer one. And it's got this little drag and drop kind of thing where you can, or not drag and drop, this slider comparison. So you can kind of compare it in there. So whoever is reviewing your pull request with your newly updated image can see that there's a difference between the two and that it's the right thing to happen.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. And I think at some point, if you like really dig into this visual regression testing stuff, you're going to want to branch out side of just using Git for it all. You would probably want to use something like Gitter, or not Gitter, Spectre. There's another one out there called Percy.io that does this kind of stuff for you. That kind of handles it. So you check it in and got some neat little integrations and stuff. So that's pretty cool. And they do have they have an integration with WebDriver.io. Yeah, but that's in beta. But I actually covered that once, and it was a pretty cool little integration. Yeah, pretty neat. So you do Percy snapshot.
So is Percy.io for continuous integration, or?
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Because I don't. Well, yeah, pretty much. You can run these tests locally. Like here, they have them running locally, but this browser.snapshot doesn't actually return it doesn't return any value from it, so you can't kind of check and see if your snapshot passed or failed. So that's where the Percy interface comes in. So you kind of just take all the snapshots, and then they have that GitHub integration. So it would say that there was something bad with the visual diff.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you want, there's this beast of a website with all the different tools out there.
Right.
All of those tools.
Yeah.
There's another question. Did I try? Yeah. So when I was running it on here, I think it uses Chrome. What does it use? Docker Compose. It uses a Selenium standalone Chrome image from Docker, which is a pretty cool little Docker image that allows, if you're familiar with Docker, it's a way to run like fake computers. And this, I believe this isn't headless. So this will run on, see, tags, Docker file. It builds off of Node Chrome. I don't know what that is. Huh. Just kind of trying to figure out Node Chrome. Docker file. Node base. Oh gosh. Selenium base. Yeah, I was just trying to figure out if this runs in Linux or not. I think it does. Pretty sure. Yeah, it very likely runs in Linux. But I don't know if it's headless or not. But yeah, you can run these headless if you wanted to. There's a couple of ways to do that. It would just be in your configuration file under your capabilities. I believe you would do like Chrome options, and then you set headless to true, I think. Oh. Or, nice. Yeah, there's some Docker repos that have headless Chrome. I don't run it headless because I'm not running it locally. So I don't know. It works just as well this way, and it's probably less susceptible to stupid bugs coming in. I think that's supposed to be Chrome options. I don't even know if that's the right way to do Chrome options. It might be something like that. That's the way to do it. Okay, I got to wrap things up because I've got a soccer game to get to. So, any last questions?
I'm good. Let me ask. Yeah, YouTube is on a delay.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, I think that's
I'll
it.
send that over in chat. The actual test your login link. Did it not go through? Error, try again. Edit and try again. Oh, it doesn't like that link.
Yeah.
So yeah, just go to testyourlog.in. My neat little URL. Thank you, Joseph, for the questions. Those are really good questions. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening along. Thanks, Daniel, for humoring me with everything. Appreciate it. And we'll see you in November for the community night, hopefully.
Yes, because October. So community nights are every second Thursday, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it will be November.
Yeah, and I think I should be there for it.
Cool. And then on the 3rd of November, third Wednesday of November, we'll have Nate.
And that'll be in person.
Yeah, it's going to be in person and at Geekdom Event Center. And he's going to be talking about OAuth 2.
Nice. That'll be the second OAuth talk we've had. But it'll be good.
Yeah.
I need to let the Geekdom folks know that we're doing it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I can send the email.
Oh, great.
All right.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.